My name is Matthew Lakeland. I'm VP of Scientific Affairs at TrakCel, one of the company's co-founders. Been working with TrakCel for 11, almost 12 years now. And today what I thought I'd do is give some orchestration case studies. So really give you a flavor of the types of products that we've supported and the types of way that we've addressed managing advanced therapy supply chains. So really from PBS Biotech, they talk about scale up of cell production. Today I'm going to talk about sort of scaling out of drug supply. So I'll also give you a little bit of an introduction of TrakCel for those of you that don't know who we are and what we do. Then a reminder about the importance of chain of identity and chain of custody. And then those orchestration case studies. They've been anonymized to just to protect the information that we're giving. But in essence, we're going to give you a view of a first into human supply chain, a pivotal study supply chain, and also overview of commercial supply too. Okay, so first of all, who is TrakCel? Well, we believe we're the market leader in cell orchestration solutions. We're the longest established. We're based in the United Kingdom, but we have an operational presence in both Europe and the US. We're the longest serving provider of chain of identity and chain of custody solutions. Really those important parts that you need to do in order to manage your supply chain successfully and compliantly. We're really proud at TrakCel that we have the largest number of deployments of orchestration systems. We manage a whole raft of different types of supply chains on behalf of our customers. So we've got products such as CAR-Ts, TILs, MILs, personalized cancer vaccines. We've got some matched allogeneic therapy products as well, some genetically modified hematopoietic stem cells. Really, the essence at TrakCel is that for these types of supply chains, we've managed different types of starting materials as well. So if you've got a supply chain you need to manage and you need to think about orchestrating, well, there's a good chance that we've seen those problems in the past and we'll be able to help you. Also at TrakCel, we have 3 live commercial products being supported with our software, soon to be 4 actually, so it's really exciting that we signed a deal not too long ago, so it made this slide out of date, which is fantastic because we're driving forward in the industry. And then also, as you'd expect from a software platform, 21 Part 11 compliant, also UDRLX compliant too for those of you that have your systems running in Europe. And other sort of supporting legislation too, so the HIPAAs and the GDPRs are addressed by our platform. Just a sort of a little bit of a reminder about chain of identity and chain of custody. Really key sort of tenets of managing advanced therapies, autologous and also matched allogeneic too. I won't read this slide verbatim, but in essence, chain of identity, making sure that the correct drug product gets to the correct patient. So for autologous, making sure that the drug product has been generated from the patient's cells and from no one else's. And for a matched allo, making sure that the biological profile of the donor has been matched significantly and successfully with the biological profile of the recipient. And then chain of custody, knowing who's handled the cells, when and where in the supply chain. And this also becomes quite important if you have time-sensitive steps in your supply chain. Because if you do have a delay, that chain of custody information will allow you to address that delay, understand who the custodian of those cells are at that particular time, so you can get the supply chain moving and potentially avoid any sort of out-of-specification activities. And really, when you're thinking about managing your supply chains, whether you're going to use a technology like ours or a paper-based system, you've really got to focus on those 2 core tenets in order to be sure that, first of all, you're managing your supply chain correctly, but also you're on the side of the angels when it comes to regulatory compliance. I've just pulled one regulation out just so that, it's not just don't take it from me. This is a FDA 21 Part 1271, they've got a specific part on chain of identity and chain of custody management. So I wholeheartedly recommend that you take a look at these regulations. They tend to vary from territory to territory, but as a broad overview, the principles remain the same. And then also, not just about those regulations, but also some great standards out there. So if you're at the beginning of your supply chain journey and thinking about managing a new product, a new autologous product, take a look at the ICBA standard for chain of identity management. It's really, I think, going to give us as an industry a standard where we can use those chain of identity identifiers and make sure that they genuinely are unique. So again, it allows you to be completely sure that the identifiers you're using for your advanced therapies and your autologous treatments are unique. So again, take a look at Standard 28 and speak to the people at ICBA. They're absolutely brilliant and quite evangelical about pushing these standards, making sure that we can deliver the drug products to the customers, to patients as safely as possible. Okay, so that's a little bit about TrakCel and a little bit about standards. Now what I'm going to do is give an overview of 3 different types of supply chain. So these are ones where we've delivered our software into them and helped them manage them. And really it's just to give you a flavor of what you might need to address and how you might go about building a system, whether it be paper-based or a software system. So the first example is for a first-into-human study. And I'll start with a quote from the head of VP of Quality at our customer here. A very charismatic person, fantastic conference speaker. I'm sure quite a lot of you here today will have heard him speak. But his quote was, "You can do what the cell orchestration software does manually. You can do it through spreadsheets and PowerPoint slides and SharePoint sites, but it will drive a mortal man insane." Now, it's important to recognize that this is a little bit of hyperbole from our customer here, but actually this person was from a small startup cell therapy company, but they recognized that actually the inflection point of investing in a software system to manage their supply chain was actually cheaper than building out a team to manage the supply chain and do it manually. And so we had a great time building a software system to help them support their first into human studies. What was interesting about this engagement was it was actually run by our customer's quality team, but really we focused on the areas of highest risk in that supply chain. Also, they had a lot of screening activity to be undertaken as well, so that really reflected on the architecture and the strategy that we produced for our customer. So this is a nice simple diagram of the architecture we produced. Our product, Acellus, sat in the middle and managed those different steps. What they had in this particular supply chain, they had a lot of screening events needed to be undertaken before a patient was ready and you could start scheduling a collection of starting material and manufacturing exercises. So with that in mind, we built an integration with their ECRF system, and we only pushed and pulled data from the ECRF system when a patient got to a stage in their screening cycle where it was the sponsor was pretty sure that patient would be eligible to take that treatment. So they pushed a unique identifier generated by the ECRF into our system, and we pushed a unique COI number back into their ECRF. With their capacity management system, Acellus showed the various sites when they could and couldn't take starting material and when there was and when there wasn't manufacturing capabilities available. But that information was actually manually inputted into Acellus. So by the kind of sexy industry term, a swivel chair integration, but basically someone typing that information into Acellus. And then we also had a courier integration. So that courier integration allowed automated ordering of materials, of collections of starting material and delivery of drug products, but also pulled through that chain of custody information into Acellus, so allowing a single source of truth for the whole supply chain. If we take a look at our second customer, this was an autologous CAR T and a mixture of autologous CAR T and TIL therapies, and targeting multiple indications and really sort of focusing on supporting a pivotal clinical study. This company set up a project team to do this. It was a multidisciplinary project team. And I always think that these types of deployments are best because you've got stakeholders from clinical, commercial, quality, manufacturing, logistics, and each of them have a slightly different view of what they want for their system to do. And sometimes, as a software vendor, we have to guide them as well to compromise. And really what their focus around this was, again, looking at those areas of risk and de-risking their supply chain, but also being able to manage multiple products as simply as possible, really to help them accelerate through their development cycle and really have a platform that could be used for several different types of therapies and several different types of supply chains as well. Those of you with a great memory will see that this architecture actually looks very similar to the first example, but actually there are some key differences here. So this particular company, they were using a CRM system to manage their patients rather than an ECDRF system. And so that presented an interesting challenge as well, because we were thinking about the types of data we wanted in a Celos versus the types of data that was in the CRM, and where we can protect patient anonymity as well. So in this particular model, we actually pulled through data from the patient consent form, but we only pulled through data from the patient consent form that was necessary for their identification, leaving as much PHI in the CRM system as possible. And then with Acellus, we actually built an integration with their MES ERP system, allowing sort of an automated exchange of information around scheduling information. So then Acellus, again, as before, could provide that those days when you can take starting material and know that if a clinic takes a starting material on a particular day, there's manufacturing assets available to address those and to manufacture those products. And again, here we also had that integration with a different courier this time, but again, using it to reserve shipments or book shipments, and also manage that chain of custody information. And we pull that information all into Acellus again to give you that single source of truth. Final architecture now. This was for a commercialization, a product that they were preparing for commercialization. So this is a sort of a commercial sort of enterprise version of Acellus and the different types of integrations we have. Really what they were focused on is this particular company was removing paper from their supply chain completely. And so this was going to allow them to scale out quickly, to adopt new clinical sites as quickly as possible as well, once their product became commercially available. And here we had a digitization team that was working on this particular project. And what we focused on also for this particular project as well was geographical-based workflows, because different types of geographies had different types of supply challenges. And also we had to address certain challenges around multiple collections, different types of manufacturing exercises, but feeding into just one drug product as well. Very, very complex process. And you'll see that the architecture is very, very complex too compared to the previous models. But what we had here is our Acellus product was being used to share information with a variety of different couriers. So again, booking shipments and also pulling in chain of custody information. We built a middleware system for our product, and then that middleware actually spoke to our customers' middleware as well. So we had two different sets of middleware exchanging information. The company had a CRM system and benefits verification tool as well, so they were using that as a sort of a starting point for their process. And then they also had a master scheduler that fed into their variety of different CDMOs and in-house manufacturing internationally, allowing that information to be pushed and pulled in, and then finally presented in Acellus to those clinical sites. The one thing we do with our product is we try to keep the clinical interface as similar as possible from installation to installation. And that just makes it as simple as possible for those clinicians and healthcare providers to order those products and manage their products. So just with about a minute or so left, just a little bit of review. Fully recommend that regardless of the complexities associated with the supply chain of identity and chain of custody principles must be met and should be demonstrable. First into human studies, as I showed earlier, permit the testing of integration strategies. You don't need to integrate with all your systems to begin with, but you certainly need to start thinking about where you might want to be with commercialization. Begin with the end in mind. And as study size and complexity increases, interoperability between these systems will improve efficiencies and address risk areas in the supply chain. And I will say that when you are starting to think about your commercial supply of your products as well, they do need an awful lot of planning. You need to be aware of the types of systems that you already have in place. You need to be sure that they're robust. Automating a poor process means that you get poor information faster. It doesn't mean that it solves your problems. So make sure you automate a good process. And then finally, and importantly, as I mentioned at the very beginning, consider using international standards to help address chain of identity and chain of custody compliance. And I've got 2 seconds left, so if you have any questions, please come and join me and speak to me after the presentation. I'll be delighted to talk to you. Thank you very much.